according to what I understand, what my sources within the agencies, the confirming ones, tell me is that they have recordings. That is to say, they were recording Dámaso López Serrano. I don't know, Adela, because they don't give me an understanding as to the precise details of those recordings. Due to some tips that they received, the recordings were made by an infiltrator within the Sinaloa Cartel, who they trusted, because apparently there are no communications, even with Maito Flaco himself. So there was an infiltrator that Damaso trusted, aka he don't know shit about what's on the tapes. They just told him some tapes exist. He said his sources are telling him that there's 2 pending arrests. So there's 2 more people. So he's saying his brothers and uncle, everybody's involved in this hustle. He said, as far as I understand, that his brother Jesus, Mini Lic's brother, stayed away from all criminal activity, but was also in the United States for his own safety, and had to flee Mexico when he turned himself in. But as far as I understand, he was never participating in criminal activities until this moment, when I believe he ended up getting involved with his brother. That's sad, bro. That's filthy. He didn't know where he was living. He said he found it surprising that he was arrested in Washington, Virginia. But apparently they went to where he lives, or lived, with his family, to arrest him. And apparently that's where he was, let's say, relocated by authorities themselves, once he was released on parole. His agents also tell me that they acted as quickly as they could in corroborating the information and putting together the file and going for it, because they feared that Damaso could have gone to Mexico. That is despite the fact that he has unaliving threats. I understand from the American authorities is that he would have been promised that the town of El Dorado would be handed over to him. That way it makes sense of the narrative of what we see happening in Sinaloa. That's crazy. This shit's crazy. This shit is crazy. It's a mad dash. Everybody trying to get back in the game. Everybody trying to win the war. That little kid that got smoked the other day, he lost. The war ended for him already. What are your thoughts or your final thoughts or conclusions? That the plot thickens, man. We only got one source. But if all of this is true, it sounds like a guy that was back in the game, wanted to get his chunk back. Wanted to get his treasures back. Wanted to get his get back. I guess the macaroni noodles and ketchup, like they said in Goodfellas, wasn't for him, you know what I mean? Right, so he says, so this narrative seems to make sense with what's happening in Sinaloa, where there are many shootouts, and there's a very strong attempt by, let's say, Zambada to enter Culiacan. But also, one of the first territories that they began to try to clean up or have a strong presence in was El Dorado, a town that was previously those of the Damasos and the Licenciado, where they had ranches, where they had their original offices apart from that same ranch. That same place in El Dorado, it was one of the first that began to clean up in this war, to clean up. That same quotes. Right? Snatch up. So he used YouTube as a tool, weaponized social media platforms. That's what they're going to call it. The United States government, they're salty about that and they want to shut the channel down. They're going to say he used it as a tool and weaponized it. Maybe he did. If he was giving them information at the same time, then coming over there and saying, hey, esta semana en este episodio, he tweeted. One of the promises, supposedly, to Mini Lic was to give him El Dorado. And the authorities feared that he had a straight line that if he wanted to get away from the U.S., he could roll straight to Dorado. He wanted his land back, boy. She said, wouldn't it be an unaliving sentence? It wouldn't make much sense to me because, of course, he was very protected from the United States. However, right now, knowing also that it is a person who, despite that he is protected, even though a second chance came out, he continued trafficking Fentanyl in the United States. He also talks about a person who cared little about his safety. a detener.
And they would arrest him again, of course.
Oye, ¿y el hermano estaría viviendo ahí con él o eso no lo sabemos todavía?
Was the brother there living with him, or is that something we don't know? At this time, we don't know about the family. We just know about Mini Lic. And if they were already arrested, we'd have heard about it from you. Yeah, he said I'd have had communication with the agents already, and they would have let me know that it went down. This is another cautionary tale for all those young people thinking about their life. They live like kings for a couple years, end up like prisoners the rest of their lives. Facts. Yeah, but how about this guy? Whatever, don't give me the exception to the rule, man. Understand the rule. The rule is there's no rules, right? And there's always going to be somebody more ruthless. And that ruthless motherfucker is willing to do whatever. So, the game is dead, man. Find your little niche and make it happen, because there's no glory in the game. That's a fact. Man, most of these guys don't get the nice funeral with the big money and everybody's there to see them and give them love and respect. Nah, man, they die on the side of the road. They get buried in a box, cardboard box somewhere in pieces or whatever. So he knew hours before he published it. It was very delicate information, and that he had to have it corroborated and confirmed. From who? We don't know. Good sources, he said. As you know, the sources don't answer you at the moment, that you decide, and even less on a weekend. We're busy, exactly. Were you in a hurry, or did you just say, fuck it, I'm not going to talk to nobody? Confirmado! He just confirmed that shit. He talks about his conversation with Mini Lic.
Mira, a mí me parecían dos cosas. La primera impresión que me dio, que es algo que
first impression he gave me is something that I've always commented on.
Es que él tenía mucho encono, mucha
he had a lot of bitterness,
de los chapitos, desde luego,
and a lot of beef with the chapitos. Of course, because
de México,
he had to flee from Mexico.
Y que pues él trataba de usar todas las plataformas.
He tried to use all the platforms and all the reach that he could within the United States to go against them.
Usar incluso su posición como testigo.
Even let's say his position as a cooperating witness.
A los medios de comunicación, ahora
use of course of social media. I understand that the channel also of OCRAN leaks they opened at the time. And gave an intention that he has something very personal, very strong against them, very directed. The truth is, he gave me the impression that he was an intelligent man. I didn't get the impression that he had returned to work again. He didn't seem repentant. Definitely. It didn't seem like there was this regret, but it was not noticeable that there was an intention to return to the same world. So he's just a dude raised in the game that then psychopathed himself into a situation where, you know, he feel like this is his right, you know? I didn't see him going back to being a rug trafficker. I mean, I knew he didn't feel sorry, but, you know, it seemed to me that he was going to go look for, had the impression he was going to go looking for where and how to make money again within the United States. Well, now I realize that it seems that it's not what it is. It's complicated, but no, I never got the impression that he would have been this intent. He would have had this intention to return to rug trafficking. Did you see him in some way participating in the Mayo trial? Definitely. I think he was going to participate more with the counter trial of El Mayo Zambada. I think that he was going to be very important against the two sons of El Chapo. Yes. He had very good contacts there who would have been betraying the Chapitos. And would have been passing on the phone numbers and locations. Information that the United States is collecting against Chapo. As I've told you in previous talks,
pues ya hay un target muy preciso.
There's already a very precise target,
digamos, muy encarnado en contra de los chapitos.
Ingrained against the chapitos on the part of the American authorities. We could even call it an obsession with going after them. The star witness for them was going to be Mini Lic.
Sí. Oye, este canal de YouTube,
So this
OCRAN,
YouTube
parece
channel
que es exitosísimo,
seems
¿no?
to be
Como
very
todo lo que
successful.
tiene que ver con el narco, pero parece que
It
daban
has everything to do with
pues
rug trafficking, but it
información de
seems they
lo que
gave information about what
verdaderamente ocurre.
really happens. Well, what the you think people are doing on the internet? Lies with a bunch of truth mixed in. Everything is in there. You know what I mean? Biases with a lot of truth. Everything mixed in there.
No, digo,
He said, no.
Hay obviamente una información que
Says there's obviously information that is seen there that is very precise, very up to date, very within the cartel things that an ordinary person does not know. But that was the appeal of the channel. That's what the people wanted. The people wanted that genuine information. They didn't know what the fuck to do with it. You know what I mean? They just listened to it. He knew what to do with it. He knew who to give it to. He knew who that was important to. You know? So, yes. It was done. It became very successful. It gained many followers, many subscribers. This one and others. A community that, let's say, is still interested in the subject. In a way, morbid. I don't think that much of the community is interested in the subject. So he's saying it's a morbid curiosity. Morbid interest in the subject in a way that we can say, well...
periodística, digamos. Sí, es mucho morbo.
Era mucho morbo, ¿no? Porque,
that's a journalistic piece. But a lot of morbid... but let's just say it was morbid because of course, the gossip that was given, the names that were published. It was like a rug dealer laundry where the dirty laundry was being displayed, and well, that always generates morbid interest. He was like the irony. Do any of you guys remember the masked magician that would give the tricks away? Hit the like button if you have yet to do so. Got to be somebody in here that hasn't hit the like button yet. Y'all remember the masked magician that would give away the tricks? That's what he was on. He was just, you know, the masked Cartel Jr. Right, she's asking him to wrap it up. What do you see happening with all this Mini Lic, Mayo Zambada, and I'm sure she's going to say Sinaloa conflict?
¿Tú ves que van a seguir, van a haber otros arrestos? ¿Y
will there be other arrests? What do you think will happen now in Sinaloa?
Híjole, la verdad es que está complicado porque
the truth is that it's complicated because things are happening that we did not see. We cannot even imagine in a soap opera with the kidnapping of Mayo, the re-snatching of Mini Lic. In other words, things are happening that are incredible. This year, listen, man, Cat Williams, salute. Cat Williams done set up some shit, opened up a Pandora's box. A bunch of things are happening that are hard to believe. What I do see from that course is that it's going to generate another peak of violence, as if it needed any more. Because whether you like it or not, Dámaso López Serrano had an influential group there. He had gunmen, he had rug dealers, he had alliances with, let's say, the faction of Mayo Zambada. And now that he's behind bars, we will see if he tries to do something to save his skin. That could even be speaking within, speaking against, the same faction that he allied himself with in his last one. These last years of his last year of life, this one could again generate new arrests, new apprehensions, new betrayals within the Sinaloa Cartel. What I do see is that it will generate a lot of instability also now. In January, we are less than a month away, or exactly a month away, from the start of the trials against El Mayo. Yo, we're going to be covering the shit out that trial. So boom, we got the trials against El Mayo and Ovidio and Joaquín. Then the strategy will be revealed. It'll be revealed if they plead guilty or not. I believe that this will continue to have a lot of consequences in Mexico.
La narconovela, ¿no?
The narconovela will continue. You know, we have things in Mexico. We have high-level fugitives, talking about Maito Flaco, Ivan Archibaldo, and Alfredo, who are three high-level fugitives. And let's not forget that the other cartels we also have, at least not because it was also recently revealed that the son was living in the United States. Sorry, brother-in-law, under a false identity because he was supposedly unalived in Mexico. I believe this is one of Mencho's brother-in-laws, I believe, that they faked his unaliving and he was living over here under a false name. And it turns out he had a false identity within the United States and that he continued working for the Jalisco Nueva Generación cartel. So, all this tells you, we're talking about a novela that is no longer in part one, which is only forged in Mexico, and where rug trafficking and massacres and trafficking and etc. and corruption in Mexico. It is said that they're already deep inside the United States, living with false identity, living as cooperating witnesses, trafficking as cooperating witnesses, trafficking with false identities. No. And of several cartels cooperating with the United States authorities in prison. United States authorities participating in some way in snatching of a rug trafficker in Mexican territory. Part 2 of the history of drug trafficking or criminal organizations in Mexico is now opening up to the United States as well. That is going to be interesting to see. Now with the arrival of Trump, that's going to get very interesting to see. Hope the truth is that I wholeheartedly hope the best for Mexico, even though we know they care less about our country. I mean, I think that he does care little about the people. I don't know who he's talking about. He cares even less about our Mexican people. Who's he talking about?
La verdad es que de todo corazón espero que sea para bien de México, a pesar de que sabemos que a Donald Trump le podría importar menos nuestro país, o sea,
could care less about our country.
Si poco le importa a su pueblo, menos le importa nuestro pueblo.
Cares even less about our Mexican people.
Pero ojalá que sirva de algo, digo, no.
But I hope that it serves for something.
Esperanzado a que su presidencia pueda.
No, it's not obsessed. I hope that this presidency can somehow put order in his country, and that this will have a positive effect on ours. It's interesting to listen to. Yeah, because guess what, bro? Don't go looking, Trompito. Don't go looking for no trouble in Mexico if you got cartel shit to clean up here, bro. You know what I mean? Mop your house.
El